It was early morning on April 15, 2008, in the small, peaceful village of Bawanki, in the Amroha district of Uttar Pradesh, northern India. The rooster had not yet crowed. It was not yet dawn. But in the two-story house of Shaukat Ali's family, a terrible crime had taken place. 7 bodies were scattered in the rooms, throats slashed open, blood smeared across the tiled floor. Among them was a baby not yet a year old, still wrapped in a blanket. No one in the village heard the screams. No one raised the alarm. No one escaped. Only one person survived. She stood there, white-faced, trembling, and said, "A thief killed the whole family." But just days later, that same woman, Shabnam Ali, the family's biological daughter, a model teacher and 7 weeks pregnant, was arrested on suspicion of masterminding the massacre. She did not act alone. Her lover, Salim, a young freelance worker, was the one who took an axe and hacked off each member of the family in a meticulously planned, brutal fashion. For forbidden love. For money. For the ultimate selfishness and cruelty. The story of the most infamous murder in modern Indian judicial history begins that night, in the darkness, where family, trust, and blood were betrayed. With a kiss and an axe. The Shaukat Ali family is one of the most respected in Bawanki village, a traditional village in Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Shaukat is a retired Muslim teacher who has taught ethics and literacy to generations of students in the village. He is strict, upright, and believes in discipline and tradition. His wife, Mrs. Hashmi, is a gentle woman, and no one has ever heard her raise her voice. She takes care of the house, paying attention to every meal and every handkerchief of her children and grandchildren. They have 3 sons, a daughter, and their daughters-in-law and grandchildren living together in a spacious 2-story house. Shabnam Ali is the only daughter in her family. She was praised by everyone in her village for her education and gentleness. Having graduated with a BA in English literature, and then went on to pursue a master's degree, Shabnam was one of the few women in her village to have gone to university. She works as a primary school teacher in the village, a job that makes her parents proud. Despite living in a traditional Muslim environment, Shabnam is said to be a gentle, quiet, and reserved child. But that is the appearance. Inside, she carries a secret that, if discovered, will destroy the honor of the whole family. Salim, in his late 20s at the time, was a young man who lived near Shabnam's house. He worked as a seasonal worker in a sawmill with an unstable income and had no education or family background. He was infatuated with Shabnam, while Shabnam, though educated, was fascinated by Salim's adventurousness, recklessness, and passion. They had been secretly seeing each other since 2006. When Shabnam's family found out, they strongly objected. A female teacher, educated from a respected family, could not marry someone as jobless and lowly in status as Salim. Her family disowned her. Her parents scolded her. Her siblings watched her. But the secret feelings only made Shabnam more confused. She started hiding her phone, pretending to go to work to meet Salim, sending letters to friends. And then, she got pregnant. Caught between 2 worlds, one of forbidden love, the other of family ties, Shabnam chooses the unthinkable. Instead of running away, instead of fighting, she chooses to kill them all. Not because she was threatened, not because she was abused. No one beat her or took away her rights. She chose to kill them, one by one, so that she could live freely with Salim and inherit all the property. Because if her parents died, her brothers died, then she, the only surviving child, would be the sole heir to the house, the land, the money. For Salim, he agreed to join not out of blind love but out of ambition. It was the spiteful look of a man who had been despised by the upper class. For him, being loved by Shabnam, and then having her suggest killing his entire family, was a chance to change his life. A pregnant teacher, a sawmill worker, a plan to kill 7 people, all of them his own flesh and blood, written in the dark. Since 2006, the relationship between Shabnam and Salim began to blossom in silence. Every morning, while teaching, Shabnam secretly met Salim near the sawmill. They exchanged handwritten letters and talked on the phone at night. In the eyes of the villagers, teacher Shabnam remained serious and disciplined. But people in the family gradually discovered the abnormality. Once, Mrs. Hashmi saw her daughter secretly bringing food to someone outside the gate at night. Another time, her sister-in-law caught Shabnam locking the door unusually early, and then heard small talk in the backyard. The family gathered. Shaukat, who was strict and respected his honor, confronted his daughter. When he learned that Salim was his lover, a young man with no formal education and no steady job, he became furious. "If you dare continue with that relationship, I will disown you. You have not only betrayed my family but also ruined the reputation I have built over my life." But those threats did not deter Shabnam. She did not end the affair, but only hid it more carefully. She still sneaked out at night, still wrote letters, still told Salim about what her family forbade. Shabnam became quiet at home. She avoided her father. Her answers were curt. Once her mother found her phone hidden in a pillowcase, something that was strictly forbidden in the house. Another time, her sister-in-law discovered that Shabnam had been searching online for anesthetics and painless abortions. When questioned, Shabnam said it was because a student had been raped, and she just wanted to help find out. Little did she know she was 7 weeks pregnant with her lover, and began plotting how to take care of the entire family. Relatives, though suspicious, could not believe that the girl they had raised from a young age could plan to kill her entire family. Even when neighbors caught her with Salim in the dark, they thought it was just a forbidden affair. No one called the police. No one thought it was necessary to get involved further. In March 2008, Shaukat decided to marry Shabnam off to a man who was an electrical engineer from the town of Moradabad. The families met and arranged the wedding in May. Shabnam reacted strongly. She said she would not accept it, but Shaukat would not take no for an answer. "Family comes first," he said. "Love cannot be allowed to break tradition." That night, Shabnam went to her room crying, and then for the first time she took the initiative to call Salim. "If I am forced to marry, I will die. Or, I will let my family die, and we will live." Since early April, Shabnam has been researching sleeping pills that can induce anesthesia without causing immediate death. She tried buying a few pills from the pharmacy and hiding them in her shirt pocket. She also secretly observed the daily routines of each person in the house. Who goes to bed at what time? Who is easily woken up? When is the main door locked? Where is the axe? Every little detail was remembered. By the beginning of the second week of April, she texted Salim, "Tuesday night. I'll take care of the medicine. Just grab the axe and go in." Salim was silent for a day. Then he replied, "Are you sure? We'll have everything. The house, the land, you, and the baby." And then, that fateful night came. Night of April 14th, 2008. Hot, moonless. In the familiar two-story house, the Shaukat Ali family ended a normal day. Everyone had a late dinner. After the meal, Mrs. Hashmi cleaned up the kitchen. Mr. Shaukat checked the door locks. Shabnam, as usual, said goodnight and retreated to her private room on the second floor. No one knew that in her pocket at that time, there was a crushed packet of sleeping pills, ready for a silent death. Around 10 p.m., Shabnam quietly went into the kitchen and made a large pot of milk tea, as was her family custom. But this time, she added a large amount of sedatives, enough to make adults feel dizzy and unconscious. She offered them one by one: father, mother, brothers, sisters-in-law, and even her 14-year-old niece. They all drank. No one suspected. No one protested. Only one person, the eldest brother, seemed to notice the strange taste. But it was too late. Their bodies began to tire, their eyes drooped, their limbs grew heavy. One by one they lay down in their separate rooms. Not a single cry for help. Around 1 a.m., the gate of the house opened. Salim sneaked in through the main gate, which Shabnam had already opened. In his hand was a sharp axe, the kind used in sawmills. He wore no gloves. His face was not covered, because he believed, tonight, he would not need to run away. In the darkness, the two lovers went from room to room. Shabnam used her phone flashlight to light the way. Salim raised the axe. Mr. Shaukat was fast asleep when the axe came down. One blow. Blood spattered the wall. His body jerked for a few seconds. Then it was still. There was no time to panic. Salim moved to the next room. Mrs. Hashmi, still lying on her side, did not open her eyes. An axe went through her head. And so, one by one, they were killed. No screams, no struggles. Blood smeared across the cold tile floor. The 14-year-old niece slashed repeatedly. The girl was lying in the corner of the room, probably not fully asleep, so her body was weak and resisting. Salim had to slash her 3 times. Shabnam stood at the door, covering her mouth, but she did not turn away. The 10-month-old child, a bloodless death. The child, lying in the crib next to her mother, was still sleeping, unaware that her mother was dead. Shabnam walked over. She did not let Salim do anything. She took a thin towel, wrapped it around the child's neck, tightly, very tightly, until the child stopped moving. Around 2 a.m. and they washed their hands, wiped away the traces. Shabnam hid the axe in the back cupboard. She told Salim to go first. She would call the police the next morning and stage the crime scene as a break-in and murder. She changed her clothes, mopped the floor, opened the window, collapsed on the floor, started crying, not out of guilt, but because the script had reached a point where she needed to cry. Around 4 a.m., she called out to her neighbors, "Someone killed my whole family." Shabnam screamed to her neighbors, saying that an intruder had killed her whole family while she was sleeping. The villagers rushed over. A horrifying scene emerged. The door had not been broken. There had been no screams in the night. And why was she the only one who survived? The police were called, but they were suspicious from the start. There were no signs of disturbance in Shabnam's room, where she said she was sleeping. And most suspicious of all, she was the only one, without any blood on her. But the smell of antiseptic soap lingered on her hands. 4 a.m. A scream tore through the night. A shrill scream from Shaukat Ali's house woke up the entire Bawanki neighborhood. Shabnam ran to the gate, his clothes disheveled, his hair disheveled, crying and screaming, "There's an intruder. They've killed my whole family. Please save me." The nearest neighbor, Mr. Yusuf, in his mid-60s, was the first to run over. The scene inside nearly knocked him over. Blood, lots of blood. On the floor, on the walls. A little girl lay collapsed in the hallway. A couple lay in a room, their heads almost severed. He immediately called the village headman, then ran to the police. 4:30 a.m., local police arrive at the scene. When the first police team arrived, they found Shabnam slumped on the steps. Her face was pale, her eyes wide open, her lips trembling. She kept saying, "They killed my parents. I didn't hear anything. I was asleep." The police entered. The house was eerily silent. Each body was identified. 7 victims in total: her parents, 2 brothers, her sister-in-law, her 14-year-old niece, and her 10-month-old baby boy. People gathered in front of the gate. Some held their heads and cried. Some stood still, saying nothing. A model family was wiped out overnight. Lieutenant Khan, the first response team commander, noted the following unusual signs. No signs of forced entry or broken locks. The main gate and door were intact. No signs of a struggle or ransacking of property. The cash and jewelry cabinets were intact. The gold in the chest was not missing. The victims were lying in a very straight position. Most of them were lying as if they were sleeping. No signs of struggling or fighting back. Shabnam alone, too clean. While the victims were lying in blood, Shabnam had no blood, no scratches or injuries. His hands still smelled of soap. The police recorded the scene. sealed off the house, and asked everyone to keep their distance. The victims' bodies were taken to the district hospital for forensic examination. Throughout the morning, Shabnam continued to cry, or rather tried to appear distressed. She told the press, "I was sleeping alone upstairs. I heard a noise, but I thought it was a dog howling. When I came downstairs, they were all dead." But it was her voice, without the tears, that sent shivers down the spine. A local reporter later recalled, "I have interviewed many bereaved relatives, but Shabnam, there was no panic in her eyes. There was only calculation." Given the severity of the case, the state police sent a special investigation team from Moradabad. The team leader, Senior Inspector R.K. Saini, immediately ordered the entire house to be sealed, fingerprints and blood samples collected, and Shabnam's phone records retrieved. A blood-stained axe hidden behind the house and was discovered. It had Salim's fingerprints on it, and Shabnam's too. After sealing off the scene and taking the victim's body to the forensics department, the investigation team began to search the entire house. They discovered a strange detail. There were no signs of forced entry, but the gate was already open. No one in the village saw the stranger's shadow. The time of death was determined to be between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. When they checked the belongings, they found a bloody axe hidden in a small closet at the back of the house, wrapped in a towel. The axe was the type commonly found in sawmills, where Salim had worked. Shabnam's bedroom, where she said she was deep in sleep, was uncluttered. The bed was flat, the pillows neatly placed. There was no scream, no blood, no footprints to indicate panic. The forensic report made important conclusions. All 6 adults had traces of benzodiazepine in their stomachs, a high-dose sleeping pill. The 10-month-old boy did not have this substance, but had bruises around his neck. He was strangled to death. This was a clearly premeditated murder, the chief forensic pathologist, Dr. Praveen, said at a press conference. The victim was anesthetized before being attacked with a sharp object, and the perpetrator knew exactly what he was doing. Investigators extracted Shabnam's phone, finding hundreds of calls and text messages between her and Salim, especially in the week before the murder. A text message sent on April 13th from Shabnam read, "I'm ready. Just do your part." A 7-minute call took place at 00:45 on April 15th, just before the murder. Salim had deleted the call, but the phone number was still recorded. A traffic camera on a village road captured a man in a brown shirt and hat, very similar to Salim, walking through a residential area around 1 a.m. When brought into the interrogation room, Shabnam continued to deny all charges. "I don't know anything. I slept on the 2nd floor. It could have been the thieves." But the investigator was not so easily convinced. "Why did you survive alone? Why did no one hear you scream? Do you know why the axe had your fingerprints on it? You know who Salim is. We have the text messages. We have the statement." At first, she remained stoic. But on the 3rd day, when she was shown the autopsy report, specifically the death of her 10-month-old grandchild, her face changed color. "It wasn't my fault. I just wanted to live with the person I love. I didn't kill anyone." Salim was caught at the sawmill while trying to escape. At first, he kept quiet, just bowed his head. But when he realized Shabnam was trying to pin the blame on him, Salim exploded. "She planned it. She gave sleeping pills. She knew who slept where. I was just the one holding the axe." Salim confessed everything. How Shabnam opened the door, how she gave directions in the night, how she fake cried afterwards, and how she killed her own niece with a piece of cloth. Both were formally arrested on charges of premeditated mass murder, Section 302 Indian Penal Code, conspiracy to murder, Section 120B Indian Penal Code, destruction of evidence, Section 201 Indian Penal Code. The police concluded, "This is the most terrible case of betrayal. A woman killed her entire family to be with her lover." Soon after Shabnam and Salim were arrested, The news of the incident flooded the Indian press. Shocking headlines appeared. Pregnant teacher kills entire family for lover. Mother murders nephew to steal property. A case that makes justice examine people's hearts. People everywhere could not believe it. A woman, educated, a teacher, was the perpetrator. Not in self-defense, not because of violence, but because she wanted to marry her lover and monopolize his property. Human rights organizations, women's organizations, journalists were divided into many opinions. One side demanded the death penalty without mercy. The other side asked, had society pushed her to a dead end? Shabnam and Salim were brought to the Amroha court under tight surveillance. When Shabnam entered the courtroom, wearing a light beige salwar, her hands were shaking slightly, but her eyes remained blank. Inside, hundreds of people had come to watch the trial, crowding along the corridor. Throughout the trial, Shabnam denied all charges, saying that Salim killed my whole family out of hatred, and that she knew nothing. But the evidence was as clear as day. Fingerprints on the axe, text messages about preparing to commit the crime. Cameras caught Salim near the scene. Autopsy reports matched the timing of the anesthesia. And finally, detailed testimony from Salim himself, detailing every action Shabnam took. The jury didn't have long to wait. The judge said, "This is one of the most brutal, cold-blooded, deliberate crimes ever committed. The killers have not only killed people, they have killed blood, morality, conscience, and faith." The court sentenced Shabnam and Salim to death under Section 302 of the IPC. This is a classic case of the rarest of the rare, so rare and cruel that only the death penalty can be a deterrent. Shabnam's lawyers filed an appeal arguing she was pregnant at the time of the crime. She is a woman and could be psychologically affected by being forbidden love. She could do well in prison, but the High Court rejected all of them. They said, pregnancy cannot be a reasonable excuse to kill her parents, siblings, and nieces. She was conscious, planned, and in control of everything. This was not a spontaneous act. In a final appeal to the Supreme Court, the highest level of the judicial system, the lawyers continued to raise the humanitarian factor, urging the court to reduce the sentence to life imprisonment. But the final verdict was still, no mitigating factor can excuse the defendant's actions. Not even a newborn baby should be spared. The death penalty is the only appropriate punishment. In 2016, Shabnam submitted a clemency petition to President Pranab Mukherjee. But after reviewing the case, he refused. It was the first time in modern Indian history that a woman faced the threat of hanging, something that had not happened in decades. Because Shabnam was a woman, the government had to restore the hanging area at Mathura Central Prison, the only place with the legal basis to carry out the death sentence on female prisoners. Public opinion continued to be in an uproar. A series of reports, articles, and debates broke out. Should pregnant women be executed? Could she have been psychologically manipulated? Does she deserve to live after what she did? Despite hundreds of calls for clemency, the entire judicial system remained steadfast. There is no room for mercy when humanity has been crushed. In the decades since the Bawanki massacre, the name Shabnam Ali has come to symbolize the most horrific betrayal in the history of family crime in India. A case that is no longer just a crime, but a collapse of trust, of family, and of human moral limits. No one in the village spoke Shabnam's name in the familiar accent. The old house had been demolished. The land where 3 generations of the family had lived was now a silent void, a relic no one wanted to revive. In the solitary confinement cells of Mathura prison, which once had no execution facilities for women on death row, the authorities have restored wooden floors and hanging racks, an acknowledgement that sometimes justice does not discriminate between genders. Many have asked, why would a woman, educated and employed, choose such a bloody path? Was it because of forbidden love? Was it because of social pressure, of honor, of family tradition? But whatever the reason, the truth remains. A teacher killed her parents, the people who raised her, killed her 2 brothers, the people who protected her, killed her 10-month-old nephew. Blood, innocent, guiltless. She was not forced. She did not kill in self-defense, she did it by choice, cold, calculating, proactive. The Shabnam case is not just a family tragedy. It is a warning that love, if left unchecked, can be blind and destructive. That the inability to communicate between generations, parents and children, can lead to bloody results. That sometimes the perpetrators do not come from the street, but from within one's own home. And most importantly, justice cannot be exchanged for compassion. Forgiveness cannot be given to hearts that have chosen blood over love. Not every night is peaceful, and not all who survive are innocent. The case of Shabnam Ali, Salim, and the extended family that was wiped out forever is etched in Indian history as a dark chapter about the ultimate limits of human conscience.